Hi there, and welcome to the Indie Pop Girl, the podcast where you will find music chat, new releases, hidden gems, and nostalgic deep dives. I am back with another episode in my Albums That Surprised Me series, and today I'll be discussing a pop record that blew up in 2024, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess by Chappell Roan. The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess is the debut album by Chappell Roan, which was released on the 22nd of September 2023. The record is a bold debut and blends elements of pop, disco, indie pop, ballads and synth pop. Fans of Olivia Rodrigo will know that Dan Nigro handled the majority of the production duties and shared co-writing credits with Chappell. The record received widespread acclaim, with the praise given to the production, Chappell's vocal performances, and her lyricism. Chappell was originally signed to Atlantic Records in 2017 and made the move to LA for her big break in the music industry. She released the EP School Nights in the same year and eventually finished her debut for Atlantic in 2018, but they shelved the record as they were unimpressed with the material that Chappell was delivering. After starting all over again and working on more material, further singles were released, produced by Dan Nigro, but Atlantic decided to drop Chappell from their roster, a move that I suspect they hugely regret now. Chappell then decided to move back home to Missouri, and she worked various jobs to save enough money so she could pursue her dream and move back to LA. She stayed connected to Dan Nigro, and after some time she was in a position to move back and resume to work on the record. The album's themes explore Chappell's experience of moving to LA from Missouri to pursue her dream of becoming a singer, and her own personal journey of embracing her sexual identity and queerness through heartbreak. When I discovered the record and saw the title, the first thing that came to mind was David Bowie's The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars from 1972. The artwork for the record is colourful and bold, just like the songs included on the album. The image of Chappell on the cover is striking and evokes a beauty queen vibe. Like David Bowie playing the role of Ziggy Stardust, Chappell is also playing the character, taking inspiration from the drag queens who accepted and embraced her when she was in LA. Chappell has also embraced the drag queen bold fashion and makeup in her own presentation style, and is the main inspiration for the Chappell Roan persona. I discovered Chappell in December 2023 through one of my favourite podcasts, Switched on Pop. From what I remember, they were talking about the standouts of 2023 and the artists who are on the cusp of having a major breakthrough. I think it was Rihanna who mentioned Chappell, and they talked about the Casual single and played a snippet of the song, and I was hooked instantly. I was listening to the podcast as I was working from home and quickly wrote down the name Chappell Roan in my little book to remind me to listen to the record. So thank you Switched on Pop, and thank you Rihanna for that Chappell mention, because I was able to listen to The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess before all of the hype began in 2024. I made the effort to listen to the record a week before Christmas of 2023, and it was a nice break from the non-stop Christmas songs that were around. I had it on in the background and listened while I was working, and I thought it was a nice, solid pop album. But at that point, I had no idea that it was going to blow up in the way that it did just weeks later. And I saved the album in my Spotify library, as I thought that I needed more time with it. As 2023 was coming to an end, I found myself catching up on all of the end of year lists from publications and websites, and I kept seeing Chappell's album popping up everywhere. I also went back and read the reviews that I missed from September when it was released to just refresh my memory. So, in the new year, I made an effort to sit down properly with headphones and to read the lyrics as I go. And that was the point when Chappell fully clicked with me. I got it. And it was so refreshing to hear. I remember telling my husband all about Chappell and that I heard her mentioned on Switched on Pop and that she's going to be a huge star. And it's just one of the best pop records that I'd heard in a long time. I have included it in this series because it surprised me in a way that I was not expecting. Yes, it didn't click on the first listen, but over time the strength of the songs came through. For a pop record, the production and songwriting were just so unexpected, and it's a pop record with so much substance. If you are familiar with this record, then you know how addictive it is. The songs just get under your skin. They are so catchy and you can't get them out of your head for days. I was playing the album a lot and even my husband, who doesn't really gravitate towards pop music, was listening to it in the car and was loving it. Because the record had been out for a few months and was released through Dan Nigro's record label, the first run of vinyl copies was almost non-existent by January 2024. I think from word of mouth and social media, more people were finding out about Chappell and her record, and eventually more copies of the vinyl became available, but still hard to find. I had a bit of a happy accident while I was searching for a copy of the Chappell record, as I was looking everywhere with no luck. I stumbled upon a Reddit thread by accident, and someone put a link to a shop called Spinning Around Records based in Wellington, Telford in the UK. Telford isn't far away to drive, so we took a trip that weekend to check out the shop and to see if I could secure a copy of the Chappell record. I could not believe my luck when we walked into the shop. There was one copy available on the shelf, and I quickly grabbed it. You know the feeling when you are searching in a record shop and you see something in the wild that was just meant to be. That Saturday turned out to be a great day. I secured my copy of Chappell, and as my husband and I were flicking through the pre-loved records, we also purchased a clean copy of Postcards from a Young Man by the Manic Street Preachers. I just want to say that Emma, who owns Spinning Around Records, is an absolute star. She is a credit to the vinyl community, and please give her a visit and support her, as she is an independent retailer. She is a huge Chappell fan, so I'm dedicating this episode to Emma. Emma, I hope you listen to this, and thank you for all of your hard work and dedication and your outstanding customer service, and for being the best record store ever. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, I will not be playing clips of the songs, so if you are curious, then please support the artists I cover by streaming, downloading, or buying physical copies. Thank you. I also just want to put out a quick disclaimer. This episode contains adult themes and I will discuss some explicit lyrics in detail, as Chappell's sexual game is strong here on this record if you're not familiar with any of the tracks. Track 1, Femininomenon. This track was released back in 2022 and eventually became a sleeper hit in 2024 when Chappell exploded on the pop scene. What a way to open up the record. Chappell is here and boy does she make a statement for the opening track. Sonically it mixes various genres such as dance pop, new wave with an electro club vibe. The title merges feminine and phenomenon, and Chappell has discussed where this came from. She said, "It's about the confusion I have in relation to my sexual relationships with men. Something is not connecting with a woman. It's easy, different, and wonderful. It's a phenomenon." The track transitions and goes to places that you don't expect it to. Chappell keeps you engaged and it's just fun, campy, and what pop music should be all about. I absolutely love how the build-up intensifies and Chappell snaps, "Can you play the song with a fucking beat?" And each time she switches up the delivery and eventually screaming that line, and it's so fun. Chappell is expressing her dissatisfaction with sexual encounters with men. She has had enough that they are unable to fully please and satisfy her sexually. The bike revving effect is so creative before the chorus, and on the artwork for the single, Chappell is riding a highlighter pink and green dirt bike with matching outfit. It's so colourful and campy, but Chappell's lyricism is razor sharp. A witty queer anthem and being sexually empowering as the opening track? Hell yes, and it just gets better. Track 2, Red Wine Supernova. This single was released in 2023 and is one of my favourites from the record. I just love a synth pop track which has acoustic guitar mixed in, and this has a chorus so catchy, I swear it will never leave your brain. It's the perfect earworm. Chappell has said that she wrote this song as a campy gay girl song version of Champagne Supernova by Oasis. Chappell goes for it lyrically here, but at the same time the delivery is done with a bit of a wink and it's not to be taken too seriously. She is blunt in verse 2 stating, "You just told me, want me to fuck you, baby I will, 'cause I really want to." I love that she is direct and to the point. The song is flirty and playful, but at the same time, Chappell is horny, but she's still in control. Chappell is unapologetically horny in this record, and I love that. I love it when female artists take control of their sexuality and their art. I have discussed this in previous episodes, such as Erotica by Madonna, and more recently Virgin by Lorde and my recent Billie Eilish episode. Female artists are continuing to push the envelope and exploring their sexuality, and here Chappell is doing it in a fun, playful manner, and I just love her humour in her lyrics. It is so refreshing, and especially when we get to the bridge. She sings, "I heard you like magic, I've got a wand and a rabbit," which of course is a double entendre. She isn't a magician here, pulling a bunny rabbit from a hat. She is, of course, talking about her sex toys. It's something that I just haven't heard in mainstream pop music before. But what Chappell is doing is so clever, so refreshing, but putting her campy stamp all over it. But let's not forget the instrumentation and the production, which is also first class on this track. Track 3, After Midnight. We have another change in sonic direction. After Midnight is a neon-lit disco funk pop anthem, and it's perfectly placed as the third track on the record. It has a funky groove which is perfect for the lyrics, and the song explores the themes of bisexuality, nightlife in the club, and Chappell wants to be a freak in the club. It's not the most lyrically challenging song in the world, but it doesn't have to be. There is also a place for fun songs like this, and it's so catchy, and this track would be perfect to add on a playlist when you're getting ready to go out. I love the clean rhythm guitar that adds a light disco funk texture, reminiscent of Nile Rodgers' work, especially with Chic. And Chappell's vocal is front and centre, with a touch of reverb and delay for space in the production. Her use of the whistle register in her backing vocals is so impressive. In here, it floats above the production. It's a perfect mix of retro disco influences and a crisp modern pop production. Track 4, Coffee. Another one of my favourites. This is another change in sonic direction and pace. Chappell slows things down, and this soft ballad sees Chappell the dilemma of wanting to hook up with her ex and trying to move on in the process. I think a lot of people will relate to the message of this song. I talked a lot last week in the Maria's episode. A lot of the tracks on Submarine is talking about trying to move on, trying to let go, but at the same time you are still consumed by an ex-partner, the feelings, and also the painful memories. Meeting up with an ex is never a good idea, and Chappell already knows that she can only meet for coffee because meeting for dinner or having wine is totally out of the question. As Chappell sings, "You'll say that you'll want me, I know that's a lie." She ends the chorus by saying, "Nowhere else is safe, every place leads back to your place." And she is telling us here that she wants to avoid a hookup situation, but it also captures that raw, fragile feeling where every space feels like a trigger. The sticking to coffee and only coffee during the day is Chappell controlling the intimacy and less chance of sliding back into old habits, such as going back to their place. Avoiding wine is Chappell removing the possibility of drunk sex or saying things that you don't mean. She's setting boundaries, but there's still a hint of regret in her vocal delivery. It's one of my favourite vocal performances from Chappell here. There is so much pain and vulnerability in her delivery. Not only can she deliver with the pop bangers, but she can also bring the emotion with a stripped back ballad. I was not expecting the level of versatility on this record, and Chappell switches things up with ease, and it's so impressive. Track 5, Casual. This single was originally released back in 2022, but with a lot of tracks from this record, it became a sleeper hit in 2024. This is also one of my favourites, and I just love the instrumental here. Those synths that slowly build into the intro is so lovely, and the overall vibe is quite dreamy with influences of dream pop with synth pop and hints of pop rock. Chappell captures the aching tension of being emotionally invested in a relationship, but the other person doesn't feel the same way and sees the relationship as just casual. The other woman just doesn't want to commit despite their sexual encounters that Chappell describes in the song. Chappell is blunt, direct, and brutally honest in this song. Chappell sings in verse 1, "I've heard so many rumours that I'm just a girl that you bang on the couch." So the other woman is obviously talking trash behind Chappell's back, telling friends that it's nothing serious and it's just casual. and probably just using Chappell for sex, and feeling humiliated and undervalued as a result. As soon as I heard the snippet of this song in the Switched on Pop episode, they played the infamous line in the chorus of "knee deep in the passenger seat and you're eating me out, is it casual now?" This is so brutally honest, and I can understand that something like this won't be for everyone. But I love direct and frank lyrics, especially from female artists. I read that Chappell was nervous when this song was released due to the honest nature in the lyrics, but I am here for it. Chappell is just a breath of fresh air. To inject this level of brutal honesty in a pop song, but she balances the sexual content, telling the listener, 2 weeks and your mom invites me to a house in Long Beach. Dream of us in a year, maybe we'd have an apartment. It's hard being casual when I'm on the phone talking down your sister. These things are far from casual when you are involved with the family, and it seems that this person is just fucking Chappell about and playing some serious mind games. It also seems to me that this song is a continuation from the previous track, Coffee. I sense that these songs are about the same person, and you can feel the hurt and pain in Chappell's vocal delivery. The outro, already legendary and iconic, sees Chappell flipping the power dynamic with dark humour and honesty, her voice becoming more impassioned as she spits out her truth. Despite her partner's parents sitting at the table at dinner, they had sex in the bathroom, and this person bragging to their friends how good they are at satisfying Chappell, but in fact, Chappell sings, "I hate to tell the truth, but I'm sorry dude, you didn't." There is definitely some toxicity on display in this song, and at the end, you just feel so sorry and sad for Chappell. What a sad situation. But I think that a lot of people will relate to this song, especially if they have experienced a relationship where it's become one-sided or you just end up being used. Track 6, Super Graphic Ultra Modern Girl. We pick up the pace and have yet another change in sonic direction. Another one of my favourites, this upbeat number dabbles in electro and dance, inspired by 80s pop. This also sounds very fresh to me, and the colourful production reminded me of Madonna, and especially Lady Gaga in the chorus. Super graphic ultra-modern girl is Chappell Roan at her most electrifying. Pop energy meets queer camp, with cutting lyrics, glittering synths, and a chorus made to empower. I talk a lot about attention to detail, and one of my favourite moments on this record is in the intro, where Chappell sings, "He didn't ask a single question, and he was wearing these fugly jeans." I just love Chappell's background vocals. It's like she is telling the story to her friends, and the ew is just the icing on the cake with the cowbell that comes in. It's just an upbeat, fun, catchy song. And this song has been tested on the treadmill at the gym, and it's perfect. Believe me, you will get a great workout from this song and record. Track 7, Hot to Go. If you are listening, then I am sure that you have heard Hot to Go at some point. It became a sleeper hit in 2024, and the dance in the chorus went viral on social media. Chappell played several festivals and gigs last year, and I just saw reel after reel of huge crowds all doing the Hot to Go dance. It just reminded me of the Village People's YMCA. It's got that cheer element, but Chappell is the queer version. She's still using the campy aesthetics of YMCA. The call and response is just perfect in the live setting. I loved the live version she performed with Olivia Rodrigo. They were just having so much fun on stage together. Chappell has provided backing vocals for Olivia in the past, and I would love it if they collaborated in the future. I love Chappell's vocal delivery in the verses. It just gives me a bit of a Susie Sue fierce vibe. There's a bit of grit in her voice, and I love that in a sugary pop song like this. Hot to Go is an 80s synth flavoured, ultra queer power pop anthem served with glam, camp and choreography. It turns sexual confidence into a crowd activity and a celebration of cheer culture and queer celebration. And it's fun, furious and undeniably memorable. I loved the live performance where Chappell scolded the VIP section after she teaches the crowd to do the dance with her and snaps that they are too cool to do it. I love how she speaks her mind and takes no shit. I love her. Track 8, My Kink is Karma. This was an instant favourite for me when the album clicked, and I still love it now. The production is right up my street, reminiscent of synth pop and indie pop. I love how varied Chappell is on the record, bringing flavour and variety everywhere, but still remaining cohesive. That is difficult to pull off, but praise must be given to Dan Nigro with his production, especially on this track. I noticed that Justin Tranter is credited as co-writer, and just looked them up, and the credits are so impressive. Justin has co-written so many big pop songs, and they are so talented. I've seen them talking about their songwriting on YouTube, and it's just fascinating. Chappell has talked about the inspiration behind My Kink is Karma and the downfall of a toxic ex. I interpret that it could be the same person from Coffee and Casual. I just get that vibe with what Chappell is describing. The song centres on the thrill, which is toxic as she admits, watching karmic justice unfold from financial ruin and mental distress to car crashes. The shots fired by Chappell is quite satisfying, and if you have suffered a breakup and it's ended bitterly, I think we have all wished karma or some sort on our exes when we've been mistreated by them. Yes, this track is toxic as fuck, but I find it so powerful and empowering. This track includes some of the best lyrics on the entire record. Chappell learns from her friend Katie that the ex isn't doing too well, despite kicking Chappell out of the house with the rent paid. The ex has moved back with her parents and date girls who are 18. But Chappell is aware of the ex having a meltdown, crashing their car, losing their mind, and the karma in Chappell's kink is watching, and the thought of it is making Chappell aroused. It's totally twisted and perverted, but God, when it sounds like this, I'm fucking here for it. Verse 3 is lyrical genius. Wishing you the best in the worst way. Using your distress as foreplay. 6 months since April, and I'm doing better. No need to be hateful in your fake Gucci sweater. I mean, just what a burn. Chappell is masturbating to the fact that her ex's life is fucking up and hating themselves. You just don't hear shit like this in mainstream pop music. The oh god repetition in the bridge could mirror Chappell's climax. It's clever that Chappell says it's coming around, which could be a take on the saying what goes around comes around. But in this case, I think Chappell is implying that she is coming and her vocals are orgasmic in the delivery. What Chappell is bringing to the table is so refreshing. This track stands out as a sexual, cathartic revenge fantasy set to electro pop with some brutal, cutting lyrics. Love it. Track 9, Picture You. This sensual ballad slows things down, and I got a Lana Del Rey feeling from this with the Radiohead creep vibe from the chord progression. Chappell is imagining someone while alone, and in the pre-chorus she sings, "I need you around, I'm getting close now," implying that she is masturbating, thinking about this person. And in the bridge, Chappell's vocals also imply her orgasm, thinking about this person. It's just clever writing, and it just adds to the sensuality to the song. The rise and fall of a Midwest princess often blends sexual liberation with vulnerability. Where casual is explicit about physical sex, Picture You reads like the quieter, introspective counterpart, emotional and physical craving in private. It captures longing and fantasy and release in such a beautiful cinematic way that only Chappell can pull off. Track 10, Kaleidoscope. So I might be in the minority here, but I actually gravitate towards Chappell's ballads, and this is my favourite vocal performance on the entire record. She packs so much emotion and feeling into her voice, and it's quite remarkable how she uses it. I have discussed how Ali X and Ali from Wolf Alice are vocal chameleons, and the same can be said for Chappell. How she can jump from upbeat bangers to something like this with ease is just so impressive. How amazing to write a love song like this, and comparing the complexity of love to a kaleidoscope in the shifting colours is just so beautiful. There is something about this track that gets me teary-eyed and emotional. It could be the instrumental in Chappell's delivery, especially when she belts out every colour of the rainbow near the end. Just goddamn. You can tell that Chappell means every single word of this song, and whoever she is singing about, I hope they have heard this, because what a song. Chappell's authentic emotion just pours out, and the minimalist production is perfect. Quiet yet powerful, it's one of the album's most honest and introspective moments. Track 11, Pink Pony Club. Pink Pony Club is the album's big, liberating fairy tale, small town shame giving way to neon lit self-acceptance. From the I Will Survive style piano intro, Chappell tells a story of moving to the West Coast from the Midwest. Though Chappell herself is from Missouri, the song's narrator is leaving Tennessee for West Hollywood, finding solace in the gay bars and drag club culture. It is incredibly moving. Despite not pleasing her mom, Chappell finds joy belonging on a queer dance floor. It's where she belongs, and she's going to keep on dancing at the Pink Pony Club. Sonically, it's widescreen pop. A tender verse blooms into a massive arms in the air chorus with glittering synths, and the production just keeps lifting. The guitar solo comes in, and with each section adds more shimmer and harmony. So by the final refrain, it feels like the curtain call of a musical. It's already become a liberating party queer anthem, and eventually became a huge hit across the world for Chappell. I am sure this has become an anthem for the LGBTQ plus community, and for those who are misunderstood and not accepted. I hope they have found comfort and hope in this song, and to find the strength to just be yourself, No Matter What, and To Keep on Dancing. Track 12, Naked in Manhattan. This synth pop song is drenched in 80s style production with a modern twist, and Chappell sings about having a crush on a girl for the first time. It's playful, flirty, and it's what Chappell does best. It's sparkly and upbeat, and Chappell's vocals are so varied in this song. She gives us a lot of range and it just works with the synths, and it's just one of my favourites. I love how she references pop culture in this track. Chappell references the sex scene from David Lynch's Mulholland Drive from 2001. The surreal film was praised for its depiction of lesbian sex between the two characters, Betty and Rita. It is tender, tasteful, and emotionally charged in the tragic story, and the scene is something that only David Lynch could pull off. Chappell wants to make it cinematic with this person, and the desire to have a sexual encounter with this person on the same level as the sex scene in Mulholland Drive. By the way, if you've not seen this film, I highly recommend it. I love David Lynch and his work, and I still can't believe that he is not with us anymore. Chappell continues the pop culture references in verse 3 by shouting out Mean Girls and Lana Del Rey with the line, "When I sing that Lana song, it makes you cry." It's funny referencing Lana and David Lynch in the same song. Many fans have compared Lana's work to something that you would hear in a David Lynch film, with her melancholic Americana and glamour. And it's interesting that Chappell has referenced both here in this track. The refrain of the "Touch Me" line in the chorus just instantly reminded me of the 80s pop banger "Touch Me, I Want Your Body" by Samantha Fox. I am sure if you grew up in the 80s, you will remember this pop banger. It is my guilty pleasure, and I am not ashamed to admit it. It fucking slaps. When I watched the Chappell reaction with Connor and Kevin from Turning the Tables, I could not believe it when Kevin made the same connection. He made Connor listen to a bit of the Samantha Fox in the video. It's why these guys are so iconic. Kevin knows a pop banger when he hears one, and both tracks here are just pure pop perfection. Track 13, California. California chronicles Chappell's real-life story, moving from conservative Missouri to Los Angeles, chasing a dream, and hitting rock bottom before rebuilding herself. After her first single flopped and she was dropped by Atlantic Records, she returned home and wrote the song during the pandemic lockdown. Chappell brings a sentimental vocal delivery with the pretty instrumental. The title of the album is reflected in the range of the tracks across the track list. The rise being the pop bangers, and the fall which is represented by the smoother tracks and ballads. And the title is a metaphor of Chappell's story, the rise being her success and breakthrough, and the fall after being dropped by Atlantic. It's Chappell Roan at her most intimate and honest, balancing melancholy with a burning sense of purpose. It's absolutely stunning, and her story and success is proof that you should never give up. I bet Atlantic are totally kicking themselves for dropping Chappell, and it just goes to show that even the big labels don't know what they're doing. It would be interesting if they have tried to re-sign Chappell after the success of Good Luck Babe and with this record. If I was Chappell, I'd tell them to go fuck themselves, and I think she probably would. Track 14, Guilty Pleasure. As the album closer, Guilty Pleasure is all about the push-pull of knowing someone might not be good for you, yet giving in to the fantasy anyway. I found this track quite jarring at first, and I think that's the intention. It took me a while to fully warm up to this track, and it's probably my least favourite from the record, and that's okay. There are parts of the song that I really like, but as a whole, it doesn't quite land with me. The track is a stylistic mashup of retro country twang and late 80s synth pop, starting with a clean plucked guitar riff before the beat drops into lush synths in a higher tempo. The production gradually builds over the course of the song, and Chappell switches up her vocals and delivers a yodeled vocal flip near the end to deliver a final burst of raw emotion. It could be the same person from Picture You, as Chappell mentions in that all your perversions, and here with your dirty mind, yeah, you're perverted. And in Naked in Manhattan, Chappell references Mulholland Drive and Mean Girls, and here she says that her partner is a cinephile, which could mean that there is some influence to Chappell from this person. I would have preferred California as the album closer, but that is just personal preference. I understand that Chappell probably wanted to end the album on a high, and Guilty Pleasure serves that purpose and works in the context of the record. And that's our journey through the rise and fall of a Midwest princess. An album that takes Chappell Roan from small-town Missouri to full-blown pop stardom. Across campy anthems and vulnerable ballads, she blends humour, heart, and unapologetic queer joy into one unforgettable debut. Critics loved it. It was commercially successful and landed on major year-end lists, and even earned her a Best New Artist Grammy Award and was nominated for Album of the Year. Chappell has officially gone from Midwest princess to pop royalty, and something tells me this is only the beginning. At the time of this episode dropping, Chappell has finally released The Subway, a song that she has been performing live for a while now, and the fans have been begging for Chappell to release it, and it's finally arrived. And maybe this is the start of Chappell's new era, and I can't wait to see what she does next. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Please follow me on Instagram and Threads at The Indie Pop Girl. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could follow and share, as it helps other music lovers to find the show. I am also on YouTube. You can find me at the Indie Pop Girl podcast, and I would be grateful if you could subscribe, as I'm creating content, shorts, and posting teasers for upcoming episodes. I've also created a public Spotify playlist and added some of my favourite tracks from the artists that I've already covered, and as the episodes grow, I'll be adding more. So if you are curious with any of the artists and albums that I have covered, please give it a listen, and who knows, you might find a new discovery. You can find me on Spotify at The Indie Pop Girl, and the playlist is called Favourite Tracks from Podcast Episodes. I'll be back very soon with the next episode in my Albums That Surprised Me series, and I'll be discussing a release from this year which absolutely blew me away on first listen. It's going to be an emotional one, so I hope you can join me. Until then, I'm Rachel, the Indie Pop Girl. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.